Another one here from Christina. Her baby's 2 weeks old, so she's very fresh into this. And she was asking, she's saying, she's having a really hard time. She's in New York, and as I think somebody else on the call was, and she said, we don't feel comfortable going out anywhere. We've gone for a couple walks, but honestly, my body is so tired all the time. She said, my parents haven't been able to come and his parents haven't been able to come because of COVID. So we feel very isolated, trapped in our apartment, super sleep deprived, and we're having a really hard time. What are ways that other new parents are dealing with recovering from birth and having a newborn in COVID? So I know you're obviously not working in New York, Nikki, but I don't know if you've worked I know you work as a postpartum doula, if you've worked with anybody who's struggling with this right now, and this idea of not being able to have family come in, I think is particularly stressful and challenging.
It is stressful. Just giving yourself a lot of grace too, reminding yourself that it's just a season. This won't be a year forever. It takes about 21 days to recover from birth. So really laying it in and taking that time to heal and recover and not push yourself even in your house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 weeks is still
so
very
soon. New.
It feels like a lot when you're not sleeping at all, but it
does. And try to sleep when baby sleeps.
Mm-hmm. Helpful.
Not to take on too much new tasks and just relax and lay around.
Can I just interject, just because my baby is 6 weeks old and I just went through this because this is Tara. I'm in Chicago, and our like big peak was right around when I gave birth, mid-April, and it was really scary, and it was so hard those first few weeks coming home. And I completely understand, like, we haven't had any family come either, and even as things are loosening, my anxiety is like through the roof. And yeah. I think we're all sort of feeling that. But now that I'm at the 5-6 week mark, there's sort of it feels like we're turning a corner. The first month was really hard because you're on that sleep schedule of feeding them every like 2-3 hours. And then all of a sudden it does start to lighten because they become more interactive during the day. And I think a schedule is more possible after that first month. So just trying to hang on through that first month, and you'll feel better in another 2 weeks, I think.
No, that's so helpful. I think sometimes just knowing that you're not alone in that boat. Tara, I'd love to ask you actually, because this is not, we also have another new mom, Amber, who's not on the call. Was there anything that anyone did, reached out, sent, asked you during that time that was particularly helpful, or that you wish people had?
You mean like in terms of postpartum support?
Yeah, or just in terms of emotional support. I know within Kunik we have a lot of new moms, but we also have a lot of experienced parents who are wondering how best to support friends who just gave birth during this pandemic. So if there's anything from your experience that you'd like to share.
I think it was really, it's been hard to even respond to like texts from everyone, but I think it has been helpful. Like, I had some breastfeeding issues, and friends have gone out of their way to like Amazon send me like the mother's milk tea, things like that. It was really sweet just to sort of hear from people that they were thinking of me, and that they knew that this was, not only crazy because you have a newborn, but in this time it's really so isolating. I totally was, when you said, when the person who just asked the question, when they said they don't even want to go for a walk outside, I look outside and I see people walking by without masks on. I'm like freaking out, like I don't want to go out there. So it's scary. So I think, for friends and family, I mean, it's so hard. I don't really have any answer for that, because I haven't really found a balance either. But just sort of like respond to texts when you can, and try to maybe FaceTime with the grandparents as much as possible.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
Joining online support groups too, I've found has been really helpful mentally for a lot of moms. There's a lot of things that are virtual right now. You can get with different support groups, postpartum support groups, and breastfeeding groups that are being held virtually. And
this has been helpful. So.
Good.
Definitely, this is really helpful. And I want to was reconnecting with my friends too, because I always feel like my first couple weeks or couple year it's devoted to baby, and you kind of lose yourself in baby and the baby routine, and just kind of always responding to baby and that stuff is setting up Zoom calls with friends so that you can just be like a person again, or not, like I am a mom and I have friends and I have that support. And then even then since they're my friends, they don't care if the baby joins the Zoom call, or I know that I have to start nursing, so I just like tip the screen away or something like that. They don't care. So like that has been really helpful for the anxiety. But just piggybacking off of the anxiety piece is, I know postpartum anxiety is definitely a thing. I haven't experienced it before, but I know, and I can't tell the difference between postpartum anxiety or we're going through a newborn stage with a pandemic and just that whole fear of life, like the world coming at you. And just what's the difference? Like, is it life or is it truly postpartum anxiety? And then second question on that is family members pressuring to see the baby, even though I am like, you can all stay away. I'm going to stay in this little bubble as long as possible, but just introducing new people into her life, like when, how, any suggestions on that?
Yeah, when it comes to family pressuring you to see your child, you have to do what you feel is comfortable because you're the mom, you know what's best for your family. So setting those boundaries again, and then using what you can so that they can meet the baby in just a different way, and reminding them that it's just a season as well. You can do Zoom calls, or a lot of people have done like window check-ins and talk through the window. Some people are comfortable doing like porch meetups where everybody.
Nikki, I think we lost your sound. Oh, I think Nikki might have frozen. Oh, there you are. Okay, you cut out, but I think you're back.
Oh, good. Just creating those boundaries and letting them see the baby maybe through the window or on Zoom calls. Some people are comfortable doing like porch meetups or outside meetings and keeping social distance, but doing what you feel is best for your family because you're the mom and you have instincts and you know what's right and what's wrong for your family.
What about oh, sorry. Hey, Rupal.
Right. Yeah, no, I just want to say, being in New York, I gave birth right like a couple of days before things kind of started here. And it was kind of crazy because they didn't have any of the social distancing or any protocols in hospitals, but we felt like in retrospect, we felt like the hospital kind of knew what was going on because my husband was coughing. They're like, why don't you wear a mask? And he was like, why?
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's like they were preparing for it, and which was then a lot of anxiety after we came back, because then I thought, oh, we could have it and not even know, which was another whole thing. But that all passed, and we also have a lot of pressure to see, and I come from a South Asian culture where it's very family oriented, and my father-in-law is a physician. And it's amazing how people are just, that desire to see the child just overwhelms them and they don't think logically. Because he's like, well, it's been 14 days, I've been quarantined, I could see the child, but I went back to work just for a couple of hours.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's tough.
So now you have to quarantine for 14 more days.
Yeah.
It's been really, and so it's been tough because I've been like the police, and even my husband's like, he's a little softer with his parents, and so I've had to be, I feel like this bad guy, and that's been really tough on me because it brings up conflict with my husband, to be quite honest, because, he's just like, maybe we can do things that I'm not comfortable in doing. I live in Williamsburg where there's lots of people walking around without masks, and in Brooklyn, and I do not feel comfortable leaving the house, or leaving the apartment, but I also live in a small apartment. So it's also pretty overwhelming because I want to get some fresh air, so it's a lot. So I just want to the New York, I completely get it. The Chicago person, like I completely get it. I'm sorry, I can't remember names right now. I'm not looking at names, but
it's okay.
It's just one of those things. I just want to say, like, it's, I think this is really helpful just to hear that I'm not alone.
Good.
Say that.
No, I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that because I think it is hard, and the more we all talk about it, the better we are. Hanisha, I know that you had a question too, and I want to make sure we get to you. You're unmuted if you want to go.
Thank you. A question and a comment. The
Great.
comment first is I don't have a newborn now. She's 14 months, but I did have a baby in the NICU, and my concerns were absolutely the same because she was born at 26 weeks, and so her immune system was, she spent 4 months in the NICU, and as she got home, her system was still immature, and so I lived the same way in a bubble. Didn't want anyone to see her. It did cause conflict between my husband and I, and we do live in a small apartment. And what I would offer is one of the things we did that kind of, I don't know, gave us a glimmer of hope is while we were in the hospital. So while people are home now, you can maybe try to work out a plan with your spouse or on your own of, eventually I assume people will want to reintegrate with whatever, friends, family. And what does that look like for you? Are you going to have them maybe wash their hands as soon as they walk in? I took a couple gowns from the hospital, the gowns. And when we were ready to receive gas, they would have to wear the gown. And they had to wash their hands. We also had hand sanitizer that have to do afterwards. And then we had masks also, when masks were in abundance then, that they would wear. I didn't care if it was allergies or, if water went down the wrong pipe and you thought you coughed on something, but we just took extra precautions when we felt comfortable and allowing one or two people in at a time, close family, to see the baby. But it gave us some kind of a plan, something to kind of look forward to. I think like Nicky was saying, it doesn't last forever. It is going to come to an end, but what's it going to look like when you do choose to reintegrate with your friends and family? And then just finding a common thing of what it is you want to say. Maybe you want to set a timeline and say, look, we're just not going to have anyone over for the first 60 days right now. And then, we'll reassess in August. That way everyone, hopefully, I know there's the nagging whoever's, but hopefully they can say, all right, 60 days, we'll just whatever.
Yeah.
My question kind of tied in with that is, I guess, socialization a little bit. I don't even know if there's anything you can do about it, but we just started to reintegrate with my parents in their home. They live not too far down the road, and their little feelings were hurt because my daughter really doesn't, she's not comfortable with them because she hasn't seen them in like 2 months. And so now we spent 3 days with them, and so she got comfortable, but then, now we're back home again. So is there any way you can kind of, I don't know, get your baby to be comfortable with others while you're isolating? Or, how does it, if you can't do it now, then, I don't know, what are some ways to help the baby get used to socializing and meeting other people when that time comes?
Yeah,
Great question.
Yeah, since she just met them, it would be good to kind of keep up with phone calls and Zoom calls so that way she can keep their face fresh in their mind and bringing them up often in conversations and asking her questions about her experience there. We'll kind of keep that family member kind of fresh in her mind.
Okay, what about socialization in general right now, Nicky? Like, I know, so Hanisha, it's funny you say that because we just started seeing people again, and the only people we've seen really is this one couple who has a kid 3 weeks younger than ours. And they came over and we opened the door. We were outside, all of us, masked, staying safe. We opened the door and their son started crying immediately, and they realized he hadn't seen anybody but the two of them in 2.5 months, and he was just completely overwhelmed. Our son didn't cry, but I think was also pretty equally shocked. And so I hear you. It's, we're a little younger, 11 months, but more or less the same as you at 14. And it's weird. It
is weird. We have to just remember that the kids are going through a different part of their life too. That's really awkward and unusual for them. So I think being patient with them and explaining the process of meeting a person and what they're going to see and how they might feel before time so that they can recognize that the things that they're feeling and seeing is normal. Yeah. Even bringing them out to see people with masks, like just reminding them that some people are sick and we're just being careful, and so that they know, like, this is what I might see, or this is what I might feel.
Yeah.
And I just have one other suggestion too. My father-in-law is really into my kids. Like, he loves them, which is great, but he gets really excited whenever we come over, and we don't see them. We see them probably like every 5-6 weeks. So there's still a gap between that. And I remember when my first was really young, he would get right in his face and just be like, hi, I'm your grandpa, and just like super excited. And my son would just go and just start crying. And it was just because he was overwhelmed by that. And so I had to talk to my father-in-law and just say, maybe we give him a little space at the beginning, just talk to him. He needs a little time to warm up. And so sometimes it's like training the adult too. It's not always the kid. So for him, it was, and they have a great relationship now because he says, I'm just going to give him his 20 minutes and then he warms up to me and he's good for that. And so like they've learned that Kyle needs 20 minutes and like then he comes around to it. And even still at 5, he still needs 20 minutes before he's like letting people in his face like that too.
Yeah, it's good to bring up conversations like that ahead of time so that way everybody kind of gets on the same page.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Guys, we're just at 4:00, so I'm going to let you all go, which is sad because this has been great. And I feel like I could talk with all of you for hours. But Nicky, thank you for all of the wisdom and advice. This has been awesome.